clearly, I mean, what Rand Paul's trying to get at here is, Fauci, listen, you funded this gain of function project. That's what Senator Rand Paul is trying to get at. And the NIH is not supposed to be funding gain of function projects that Fauci personally funded himself. And this is why Rand Paul wants to now open a criminal charge against Fauci. So what exactly is this whole gain of function situation? Let me break this down for you guys and explain very clearly, because it's very confusing unless you really dig down and deep. What is gain of function, and what does it have to do with the COVID-19 virus? Gain of function, in its simplest form, gain of function research refers to a process that alters some aspect of the way an organism functions. So we are influencing it. We are altering an aspect of the way an organism functions. We are directly creating basically a much more deadlier virus by human influence than if it just mutated on its own. Gain of function research is used in many ways, but the process turns controversial when scientists use it to make pathogens more infectious, particularly to humans. So basically, gain of function is, hey, let's make a deadly virus so then we can cure the virus. And that's where people are like, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to make something so much more deadly that may have not become deadly on its own? Why are you even experimenting and going down this very, very dangerous path? Well, it's done, some researchers will argue, this is done so researchers can begin to develop a defense for the pathogen before it has a chance to evolve into something deadly to animals or humans. But my argument is, wait a second, what do you mean before it has a chance to evolve? You just forced it to evolve. You've just done it yourself. So how can you have the argument that you're trying to develop a defense for the pathogen before it has a chance to evolve into something even more deadly when you actually just forced it to evolve into something deadly? So the whole thing is just insane to begin with, and that's why the NIH does not fund these types of products or projects. Those who favor gain of function research say the knowledge that is gained by enhancing viruses to develop vaccines against a potential outbreak outweighs the risk of a virus escaping a laboratory and causing a pandemic. Oh, really? So you're telling me that this research outweighs the risk of a virus escaping a laboratory, when a virus just escaped a laboratory and shut down the whole world and caused the worst pandemic in our lifetime? Look how much damage has been done economically across the world because these idiots in Wuhan were playing, let's create a deadlier version of the virus so then we can create a cure for the virus. If that's not the most asinine and corrupt thing I've ever heard of, just to financially benefit from the cure, then I don't know what's going to change America's mind as to how corrupt this entire thing was from the beginning. This is not conspiracy theory stuff, okay? And I try very clearly, I try very hard to stay away from misinformation. I genuinely try my best. This is not misinformation. This is not conspiracy theory. This is Rand Paul trying to get to the bottom of whether Dr. Fauci participated in gain of function research. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And he funded it. The NIH is not to be funding gain of function research. So Fauci is 100% busted, totally busted. Some say the U.S. funded gain of function research, that it could have led to the pandemic. Is that true? Rand Paul has accused Dr. Fauci of funding experiments that led to a modified, more deadly coronavirus. That's the argument here. So Fauci can misconstrue the facts all he wants, but the fact of the matter is that he funded experiments that led to a modified, more deadly coronavirus, and that is funding gain of function research. So in May, during a Senate hearing on the COVID-19 pandemic response, Paul said the NIH had been sending money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, to pay for gain of function research. Paul suggested that money that went to the lab was used to create the novel coronavirus and that the virus somehow escaped from the lab, causing the pandemic. So who caused the pandemic? Funding from the United States, funding from Fauci, funding from the NIH. So Fauci replied with, Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect. Fauci said in response to Paul's pandemic scenario, he said this. This is what Fauci said. Fauci said the NIH has never and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute. This is what Fauci said earlier. He then changed that statement to, Fauci later clarified his response, saying the NIH did fund a project that was carried out at the Wuhan lab that was not meant for gain of function research. Doesn't matter what it was meant for. That's what happened. They created a deadlier version of this virus. This is fact. This is not opinion. We played with science and we got bit in the ass. Who's responsible? So who now is going to get held responsible? And Rand Paul, at the end of the interview I just showed you guys, he said, you will be held responsible. We will come at you for this. And this is the argument that we're trying to make, that we are going to go after Fauci and anybody else who was responsible for participating in gain of function research, which I think the whole thing is just asinine. It should be abolished. We should never be trying to create something more deadly than what it is today. Even if we think, well, at some point over the next million years, a virus might mutate to that anyway, so let's get in front of it now so we can cure a virus. Well, that's not helping anybody, because we all know that viruses can leak from these labs fairly easily, and we've just seen it happen. We've just seen it happen. So back to the keyboard warrior cam. Let's see what the American people have to say about the fact that Rand Paul is now going after Fauci for participating and funding gain of function research.